Gemini, I'm completely speechless. After 47 years of experience, I've never had the cards reveal something this precise. I want to start by telling you something I don't usually say at the beginning of a reading. I almost didn't press record. I sat here in this exact seat with this exact setup, and I stared at that little red button for a long time before I touched it. Not because I was afraid, not because I doubted what I received, but because of what this message is, because of who it is for, because of what it carries. In 47 years of doing this work, 47 years of readings, of sitting in sacred space, of opening myself as a channel to whatever wants to come through, I have never, not once, received a message structured the way this one was structured. Most of what comes through in this work arrives in impressions, in feelings, in colors and sensations and fragments of knowing that I then have to translate into human language. It's like receiving a song that has no words yet, and my job is to find the words. That is how it almost always works. But this message did not arrive as a song without words. This one arrived already written. It came through with a clarity, a precision, that I have spent the last several days trying to find the right language to describe. And the closest I can get is this. Imagine receiving a letter, not a general letter, not a letter addressed to whom it may concern, a letter with your name on it, a letter that references specific rooms in your life, specific aches you have carried in private, specific prayers you whispered when no one was listening. That is what this felt like to receive. I want you to understand why I'm saying this before I even begin, because everything that follows is going to sound extraordinary. And I don't want you to dismiss it as hyperbole or as the kind of thing people say to generate excitement. I am 47 years into this work. I have no need for that. What I have a need for, what I feel called to, is delivering this message exactly as it was given to me, word by word, layer by layer, with the same care and weight with which it arrived. So before I go any further, I need you to do one thing. I need you to be honest with yourself right now about why you clicked on this video. Because you didn't find this by accident. The algorithm does not work the way people think it works when something like this happens. Yes, there are statistics and patterns and all of that, but there are also moments, quiet, unrepeatable moments, when something is looking for you, when a message is circling like a homing signal and it locks on. You clicked because something in the title, something in the thumbnail, something in the first half second your eye touched this, something said yes. That yes was not random. That yes was recognition. And recognition, as we will come to understand over the next little while, is exactly what this entire reading is about. So settle in, put down what you are doing. If you need to pause the video right now to get somewhere more comfortable, do that. I'll be here when you get back. Because what I am about to share with you deserves your full presence. Not because of me, not because of this channel, but because you deserve to be fully present for this. The first word that came through when this message began arriving, before images, before impressions, before any of the detail I'm going to share with you, the very first thing was a single word. It arrived the way a chapter title arrives before the chapter opens. The word was recognized. Now I want you to sit with that for a moment before I explain it, because if you let it land in your body, not just your mind, you will already feel what it means. In the world we live in, we talk about recognition as if it means fame, as if it means applause, as if it means having your name called in a room full of people. But that is not what came through. What came through was something so much older than that, so much more fundamental. To be recognized in the way this message uses the word is to be seen by the force that holds everything together. To be known individually, specifically, completely, by whatever intelligence has been orchestrating the shape of your life. And I want to tell you what the message said follows that recognition, because this is where I have to ask you to breathe and be still, and let this reach the part of you that has been waiting for it. There has been an imbalance between what you have given to this life, to people, to work, to dreams, to relationships, to the invisible labor of simply continuing when continuing felt almost impossible, and what you have received in return. You have poured and poured and poured, and the return has not matched the investment. You have noticed this. You have felt the asymmetry of it. And this is the part that was stated to me with unmistakable emphasis. You kept pouring anyway. Not because you were foolish, not because you didn't see what was happening, but because something in you understood, at a level deeper than logic, that what you were doing mattered, even when the evidence said otherwise, even when the world gave you every reasonable permission to stop. That faithfulness, that quiet, stubborn, beautiful faithfulness, has been recorded. And I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean that the energy of every effort you made that went unrecognized by other people, every sacrifice that went unacknowledged, every time you chose integrity over convenience when no one was watching, all of it has been counted. What is coming now is not a vague reward. It is not a general uptick in good fortune. What is coming is a precise correction to a precise imbalance. In 47 years, I have delivered messages about blessings and breakthroughs and divine timing. Those messages are real. That language matters. But I want to tell you what made this one stop me in my tracks. Most corrections are approximate. Life tends to work in generous directions when it moves in your favor, but the fit is rarely exact. You get something good, you get something helpful, you get movement where there was stagnation. What I was told, and I am choosing this word deliberately, what I was told is that what is moving toward you right now carries a specificity that I have not encountered before. It knows your name. Not metaphorically, not spiritually as a vague sentiment. It has been shaped around the exact dimensions of the need you are carrying right now. A need you may not have even fully articulated to yourself. A gap in your life so familiar you've stopped consciously registering it. The way you stop hearing the hum of the refrigerator until it suddenly goes quiet. That gap is about to be addressed. And the thing that fills it is going to fit so precisely, so unmistakably perfectly, that you will not wonder whether it was meant for you. You will know. Now I need to tell you about what specifically is coming, because the message did not stop at generalities. It gave me a picture. And that picture is part of why I sat with my hand near that record button for so long. Something is being returned to you. Not something new, not something you've never had, something you almost gave up on. I want you to think, right now, in this moment, about the thing in your life that you have been carrying the longest. The dream or the desire or the vision or the relationship or the version of yourself that you have been reaching for, pulling toward you, refusing to fully surrender even when surrender seemed like the wiser, saner, more self-protective choice. You know what I'm talking about. It rose in your mind before I finished that sentence. That thing, that specific, personal, intimate, irreplaceable thing. You came close to releasing it. Maybe you had the conversation with yourself, in the dark, late at night, when exhaustion finally catches up to hope. Maybe you started rehearsing what it would feel like to let it go, to make peace with a smaller life, not because you wanted to, but because waiting costs something, and you had been paying that cost for a long time. The message says, it was not a sign to release it. It was a test of endurance. And you passed. The small flame that still flickers when you think about that thing. In quiet moments, when you're not performing strength for anyone, when it's just you and the truth. That flicker is not nostalgia. It is not wishful thinking. It is not your ego refusing to let go. That flicker is prophecy. It is the part of you that knows, that has always known, what your mind has been too worn down to believe. And I am here, right now, to tell you from something beyond my own knowing. That part of you was right all along. There was a second layer to this message, and this layer arrived with the feeling of someone reaching into a room and turning on a light that should have been on for a long time. It was about timing. Specifically, it was about a false belief you have been carrying, quietly, unconsciously, the way you carry tension in your shoulders without noticing until someone touches them and you realize how long you've been holding. The false belief is this: you are behind schedule, behind the trajectory you imagined for yourself at some earlier point in your life, behind the people around you who seem to be moving faster, arriving earlier, achieving more visibly, living louder. You scroll, you observe, you compare even when you know comparison is a trap, even when you've told yourself 100 times to stop. Because comparison has a way of reaching you in unguarded moments, at 2 a.m, when you're tired and the defenses are down. And in those moments, that voice comes. You should be further along. Something is wrong with your path. Other people figured this out. Why haven't you? I need to dismantle that voice right now. Not gently, completely. You are not behind. You are not behind. And the reason your journey has taken the particular shape it has taken, with its unusual detours, its unexplained delays, its seasons that seem to stretch far beyond what felt fair, is not because something went wrong. It is because of what is being built. Think about the difference between a structure built on a shallow foundation and one built on a deep one. The shallow one goes up fast. It looks impressive early. People admire it while yours is still being laid underground, still invisible, still not making any noise. But the deep foundation holds more weight. What you are about to carry, what is coming toward you with your name on it, requires the deep kind. And that foundation could not have been laid any faster than it was. It needed exactly the time it took. Every season of waiting, every year that felt like it was building toward nothing, it was building toward this. And it is finally ready. I want to go further into what this means practically, because I don't want this to stay abstract. When life's timing corrects for you, when the universe decides that the preparation is complete and the delivery can begin, the way it announces itself is not through a dramatic moment. It is not a lightning bolt. It is not a vision. It is more subtle and more unmistakable than any of that. Doors begin to open that you did not knock on. People reach out that you did not contact. Information arrives through channels you did not pursue. Resources appear in your path that you did not chase. And here is the signature that distinguishes this from ordinary good luck: the precision of it. The exact amount you needed, not approximately, exactly. The exact connection that was missing, not a helpful one, the specific one. The exact words from the exact person at the exact moment they needed to be said. That level of specificity does not come from coincidence. Coincidence is a blunt instrument. What I am describing is surgical. And you will know the difference in your body before your mind catches up to explain it. I also want to speak to something that lives just below the surface of this timing conversation because it came through clearly as part of this layer. There is a person in your life, or approaching your life, who has been operating on a different timeline than you, and whose timeline is about to intersect with yours in a way that neither of you planned. This intersection is not accidental. It is not the universe being inefficient. It is the universe being precise. Because what this person carries is something you need, and what you carry is something they need. And the timing of your paths crossing, now, at this exact juncture, is not a coincidence. It is a coordinated delivery. Pay attention to who shows up in your life in the coming days and weeks. Pay particular attention to the ones who arrive unexpectedly, through unusual channels, in circumstances you wouldn't have scripted. Not every new face carries this weight, but one does, and you will feel it when it happens. That recognition again, that word we started with. A recognition that says, this is not random, because it isn't. The third layer of this message was the one that sat with me the longest. Not because it was the most dramatic, but because it was the most tender. It was about isolation. I need to be careful with that word, because I am not talking about loneliness in the ordinary sense. The message was not saying you have no one around you. Some of you do have people around you, good people, people who love you. But there is a particular kind of being alone that exists inside of togetherness. The kind where you are at a table full of people and something inside you knows that what you are actually going through, the real territory of your interior life, could not be handed to anyone in that room without losing everything in translation. You have lived there, in that particular interior, alone. When people asked how you were doing, you said fine. Not because you were lying, but because the truth was too layered for casual conversation, too much in motion, too close to something you could feel but couldn't yet name. You were in the middle of something that had no easy category, a transformation that was happening entirely beneath the surface, while everything on top of your daily life, your routines, the face you brought to the world, looked more or less normal. And you could not explain it because you were still in the middle of it, because you had not yet arrived at the other side where language waits. The message I received speaks to this with enormous gentleness. That isolation was not punishment. It was not abandonment. It was not evidence that you were somehow defective or unlovable or cursed. It was education, a private education, in trust, in self-knowing, in the kind of inner relationship with your own spirit that can only form in solitude. You cannot build that kind of relationship in a crowd. You cannot develop that level of self-knowledge in the presence of noise. The outer quiet, even when it felt like loneliness, was creating conditions for something irreplaceable to take root inside you. Self-reliance, a depth of inner knowing, a certainty about your own values, your own vision, your own worth, that cannot be borrowed from other people's approval, that has to be earned through the long interior work of sitting with yourself when the world goes quiet. That education is now complete. And what I want you to understand, really absorb, not just hear, is that the season of that particular isolation is ending. Not tapering off, not slowly improving, ending. What replaces it is connection, but not the kind you've had access to before, because the kind of connection that is coming matches the depth you have now reached. Before this season, you were operating at a certain depth. Your relationships, even the good ones, tended to meet you at the surface because that was where you were available to be met. But you have become something now. And the connections that are moving toward you, the people, the community, the relationships of all kinds, they are calibrated for this version, the deep one, the forged one, the one who earned their own trust through years of the exact kind of quiet you have been living. There is something I need to name directly here, because it came through clearly, and I don't want it to get lost. You have been underestimating your own impact. This is connected to the isolation, so stay with me. Part of what happens when you're in that interior alone, when you feel unseen, when the return doesn't match the investment, when your efforts seem to vanish into silence, is that you begin to quietly conclude that what you do doesn't reach anyone, that you don't register, that your presence in other people's lives is smaller than you might have wished it to be. The message explicitly corrected this. There are ripples you created that you cannot see because they moved in directions you were never facing. A word you said once, casually, maybe years ago, that rerouted someone's entire day, perhaps their entire year, perhaps their life in a small but irreversible way. A decision you made publicly that gave someone watching from the edges of your life the permission they needed to make a decision of their own. A moment of visible strength you showed while you were secretly falling apart inside, that told someone else that survival was possible. You do not know about most of these ripples. You were not there for the moment they landed. You did not get the thank you note because people don't always know how to write the thank you note for the thing that changed them. But those ripples have been accumulating, building an invisible, energetic case for everything that is now coming toward you. The universe does not reward performance. It does not respond to grand gestures done for an audience. It responds to genuine goodness, the quiet kind, the kind that keeps showing up when no one is watching. And your goodness has been noted. There was a fourth layer, and I will be honest with you, this is the layer that made me pause the recording and sit in silence for a long time before I continued. Because this layer carries a weight that I think some of you are going to feel in a way that is almost physical. This layer is about something being returned to you, not given, not granted, not provided as something new. Returned, as in, it was yours, and it was taken, or it slipped away, or the timing was wrong, and it left before you were able to hold on to it. Maybe you know exactly what I'm talking about the moment I say this. Maybe you've been carrying the specific memory of the specific thing for years, the relationship that ended before it should have, the opportunity that collapsed at the last moment, the version of your life that was within reach and then suddenly wasn't. Maybe you spent time, too much time, replaying that moment, turning it over in your hands, trying to find the hinge, the place where if you had pushed differently, pulled differently, said something differently, things might have held. The message I received asks you to lay that replay down, right now. Not because the thing doesn't matter, but because the story you've been telling yourself about why it left, the story that begins with your failure, your inadequacy, your bad timing, your wrong choices, that story is not the true one. The true story is this. It was removed because its presence in your life did not yet match your readiness for it, not because you failed. Because the timing between the gift and the receiver had not yet converged. You were not ready for what you thought you wanted. And the universe, which operates with a precision that human logic finds maddening, understood that. And it held the thing in suspension, not dissolved, not destroyed, held, until now. until this exact juncture where the version of you that is reading these words, the one shaped by everything that came after, the one forged in isolation, the one who earned their own trust, the one who passed the endurance test, has become exactly the right vessel. What is returning will feel familiar and new simultaneously. You will recognize its essence, its signature, the emotional temperature of it. Something in your body will say, "I know this," before your mind can form the thought. But it will arrive in a different form than it left, an evolved form, because you are evolved. And the universe doesn't send you the old version of something when you have become a new version of yourself. It updates the delivery. It has revised the form to match who you are now, larger than who you were when you first reached for it, more capable of holding it, more certain you deserve to have it. And when it arrives, when that suspended moment happens where your heart says, "I knew this was coming back to me," your mind, for perhaps the first time in a very long time, will stop arguing. The long debate between what you hoped and what you feared will simply resolve. Not through any effort you make, but through the arrival of the evidence. And the evidence, when it comes, is irrefutable. I need to tell you about what I'm calling the catalyst, because this is part of the architecture of what is arriving. And I think it will help you recognize it when it appears. There is a person, or a situation, or a piece of information that is going to act as the key in this process. Not the source of everything, not the cause of the blessing, but the catalyst, the trigger, the match that lights what has already been laid. The quality of this catalyst is that it will arrive through an unexpected channel, not the path you would have designed, not the conversation you would have scheduled, not the connection you would have pursued. It will come the way the best things always come, sideways, through a context that seems too ordinary on the surface for what it actually carries. A casual conversation, a recommendation from someone who doesn't fully understand why they're making it, a piece of information that arrives in the wrong envelope, delivered by someone who doesn't know what they're handing you. But you will know. Not after processing, not after analysis, instantly, in the body. That feeling of a key turning in a lock you'd forgotten you were carrying, and the sudden quiet exhale of, there it is. And what comes through after that opening is not a trickle. It is not a test offering of something new. It is a current, steady and warm and abundant, carrying with it everything that was on its way, the recognition, the return, the correction of the imbalance, the convergence of the timelines, all of it arriving at once with a naturalness that makes you wonder why you spent so much time afraid it wouldn't come. Because it was always coming. The only variable was when. And the when is now. I want to say something about the element of surprise in what is arriving, even though I have described its nature in some detail. The form it takes in your actual life will carry a freshness that I cannot fully prepare you for. It will not look exactly how you pictured it. It will look better. Not better in the sense of bigger or flashier, but better in the sense of more fitting, more you, more aligned with the person you have become rather than the person you were when you first made the wish. This is one of the most beautiful things about how the universe operates. It does not freeze your request in the form it was made. It updates the delivery to match who you are now. Your wishes have been revised to match your growth, and the delivery reflects the current version, not the outdated one. So when it arrives, and it looks slightly different from what you imagined, do not mistake that difference for a deviation. It is an upgrade. an upgrade you earned by becoming more of yourself while you waited. I want to tell you something about why this is arriving now, specifically, because the question of timing isn't arbitrary, and it isn't just about external circumstances aligning. It is about you aligning, about who you have become. You have been in a process, longer than you probably realize, of discovering who you actually are. Not who you were raised to be, not who you learned to perform in order to belong or be loved or keep the peace or survive a season that required a particular kind of mask. The real one. The one underneath all of the accommodation and the compromise and the dimming. This process has required you to let go of identities that had become comfortable through sheer familiarity. Masks that had been on so long they felt like skin. Versions of yourself built to serve a moment that has long since passed, but that you kept wearing anyway, because taking them off meant facing the question, without all of that, who am I? The message says that you have answered that question. Not perfectly, not without ongoing discovery, but sufficiently. You have arrived at a version of yourself that is authentic enough to receive what is coming without distorting it. I want to sit with that phrase because it matters. Without distorting it. Because here is the truth that most spiritual conversations don't say plainly enough. A gift handed to someone who doesn't know who they are can be mishandled, misused, given away, or shrunken to fit a belief about what they deserve. A blessing that arrives for someone who is still performing a version of themselves gets filtered through that performance and gets diminished. But a gift handed to someone who knows exactly who they are, someone who has done the interior work, who has sat in the difficult silence, who has stopped apologizing for what they carry, that gift is received fully, used wisely, appreciated completely, multiplied. You have become that person. Not someday, not almost, now. And that is why now is when this arrives. Think of it this way. If this had come any earlier, you would have handled it with the hands of someone who didn't yet know their own strength. You might have minimized it, given pieces of it away, questioned whether you really deserve the whole thing. But the version of you that is sitting here, that has been shaped by every season that preceded this moment, that version knows. That version can hold it. And that is the version the universe has been waiting to deliver to. I want to prepare you for something, because I think it matters. The way we imagine receiving something we've waited for a very long time. We imagine it as immediately joyful, as obviously and visibly celebratory, as the kind of moment you post about. The first response is almost never that. The first response is usually tears. Not tears of sadness, release tears. The kind that come when the tension you have been holding for so long, the vigilance, the guardedness, the constant low-level readiness for disappointment, finally finds it has nothing left to protect against. And in the absence of that tension, something breaks open. You might cry in the shower. You might cry in your car at a stoplight for reasons that feel out of proportion to whatever just happened. You might cry at something ordinary, a message from someone, a song, a moment of unexpected kindness, and not immediately understand why it's hitting this deep. Let it. Those are not signs of weakness or overwhelm. They are your body making room, releasing what it has been storing, creating the interior space for the new reality that is beginning to install itself. After the tears comes a settling, a particular kind of quiet that is different from any quiet you have known before. Not the quiet of waiting, not the quiet of bracing, the quiet of arrival. the calm of someone who has been walking for a very long time and has finally sat down. A deep exhale that lasts for days. A different relationship with sunlight, with morning, with ordinary moments that begin to carry a warmth they didn't have before. This is joy, but the specific kind, not the loud, performative kind, the deep, private kind, the kind that fills a room without making a sound, the kind that changes the way you hold your face when you're alone, the kind that comes not from getting something you wanted, but from realizing that you were never forgotten, that every silent prayer was heard, that every invisible effort was counted, that the long, uncertain stretch of your journey was not a detour, but the most direct route to exactly where you are about to stand. That is coming. I want you to know it is coming. And I want you to let it arrive completely when it does, without censoring it, without containing it, without immediately reaching for the anxious thought that says, "But what if this doesn't last?" Let it last. You have earned every second of it. I want to give you permission for something, and I mean that sincerely. Permission to feel excited. I know that sounds like a small thing, but I also know, from decades of sitting with people at the intersection of hope and fear, that many of you have learned to suppress excitement as a form of self-protection. The logic makes sense. It was forged in real experience. If you don't get excited, you can't be let down. If you hold your expectations at a neutral place, disappointment can't find its full grip on you. You built a wall. And it made sense when you built it. The storms were real. The letdowns were real. The wall did what walls do. But that season has ended. The weather has changed. And a wall built for winter storms does not belong in a spring field. What is coming deserves your full emotional response. Let your heart rate pick up. Let the smile come without immediately questioning it. Let the goosebumps arrive where they want to arrive. These are not signs of naivety. They are signs of alignment. Your body knows before your mind catches up. Your body is already celebrating, not out of delusion, but out of a deep animal knowing that recognizes when the tide has turned. Trust that knowing, because a completion is happening in your life right now, and completion is not the same as ending. Ending implies something is over, finished, done, possibly with a note of sadness attached. Completion implies that something has reached its fullness, its intended form, its maturity, like a fruit that has spent its entire life growing toward ripeness and has finally arrived at the perfect moment to be picked. A cycle in your life is reaching completion, and the beauty of completion is that it naturally opens the door to what comes next, without any forcing, without any manipulation, without any anxiety about what lies on the other side. One chapter reaches its final paragraph, and the next chapter begins with its first sentence already written. You do not have to figure out the transition. You do not have to engineer the bridge between where you have been and where you are going. The transition is organic. It is already happening beneath the surface of your days, and all you have to do is keep turning the pages of your own life with curiosity instead of fear. We are near the end of this reading, and I want to close by coming back to where we started, with a thing I said before I pressed record. I almost didn't make this video, because what I received was too specific to speak about casually, too precise to deliver without first honoring what it carries. In 47 years, I have given thousands of readings. I have delivered messages of hope, of warning, of confirmation, of challenge. And this one right here, that you have been sitting with for this entire time, is unlike any of them. Not because of its size, but because of its knowing. It knows who it is for. It knows what you have been carrying, what you almost surrendered, what you kept believing in despite every invitation to stop. It knows about the quiet prayers, the journal pages, the conversations you had with whatever you hold sacred at hours of the night when no one could hear you, asking whether any of this was leading somewhere. The answer is yes. And the proof of that answer is not something I can hand you tonight, because it is arriving in your actual life, in the days and weeks ahead, in the form of what I've described, carrying your name on every piece. But here is something I can tell you. The proof that this message was for you, not generically, but specifically for you, is the way it has been sitting in your chest since the beginning of this video. That feeling of something settling, of something landing that was always meant to land, of a piece you didn't know you were missing, finding its place in the puzzle. That sensation is not manufactured by these words. These words are just the delivery mechanism. The truth behind them was written before you found this video, and you found it because it was looking for you. So carry it with you now, not anxiously, not with gripped hands, with open ones, because what is coming, and it is coming, needs somewhere to land. Open your hands, open your life, open the part of you that spent too long braced against the very thing you were asking for, and watch what happens next. Thank you for trusting this space. Thank you for staying through every layer. And from the deepest part of this work and from everyone here, thank you for being exactly who you are. Because exactly who you are is exactly who this was written for. Every word of it. If this reading touched something in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment below telling me the one word that describes how you feel right now. And if you are new here, welcome. You arrived exactly when you were supposed to.